So forgive me if I sound some kind of way. I've been sick for a few weeks. The whole house has been sick. It's been crazy. But the day that I'm making this video, I want to clarify. This is the end of December, December 30th of 2022. So this is important because we're just coming out of a very heavy, very dense energy phase. And, you know, it's 2-part, 3-part, but I want to focus on the denser, heavier part of this phase. And it really ushered in early 2022. So around the end of February, the beginning of March. And in these earlier months, there were a lot of celestial phases, cosmic bodies and anomalies and things happening up there in the skies. These are indicators. These do fall in with things that are happening. Things don't happen exactly on certain days, but they are indicators. They're signalers. Sorry, that's not a word, but they signal things. So they are directly tied in. All right, so what came in was a multi-part energies, very powerful energies. It took me several months to process them myself and to start actually making sense within my body of what it is I was receiving. I'm very sensitive to the frequencies, to the energies, the light, the knowledge, all of it. I don't always understand it, but at some point, eventually I do. You know, things can be complex. So, you know, and all of this is very complex and it's very unnerving because, again, we have this predisposition to not want to trust. We're shown things about the devil, about evil, about Lucifer, about Satan every day. It's on your TV. It's on everything. You know, we are so just being flooded with this whole Satan energy. That's probably aim there at something, but you just have to press on and try not to fall too much into that, because that's probably a goal of that. But back to the energies. So I realized early 2021 that we had came through a big soul harvest season. And these seasons are very, these are original. These are rare. They've never really happened like they are in the earth. They've happened in history and all throughout the earth, but not in this way, not in the succession. So like rapid cycles, very close together. So we came out of 2020 and even 2019. And that was a very large harvest season, soul harvest season. So for those of you that don't know what I'm referring to, basically a large number of souls expire, or they expire into death and leave their body around the same time. And harvest means a lot of them, if not the better bulk, are immediately removed off planet. They're removed off Earth into pre-designated locations, kind of what was judged and decided. There are, loopholes and things, and there are exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, so this happened. There's a good example of this, and it's called the Magic Box Prophecy. I have an older video that I did on the Magic Box Prophecy, and I'm not sure if it's still up on my channel or not, but there may be things still up out there. You can, on your own time, go in and research things about the Magic Box Prophecy. And that should be a good indicator to you as kind of what was happening. Look for material from individuals who were there in spirit, there in physical body, and had experienced that event. You want to get their details. You want to get their side of what they experienced and what they saw. So that happened, going into 2021. And we had a few smaller ones throughout 21. Well, going into 2022, around March, it was made aware to me that we were going to go into another one. So around March, April, May, there was another kind of large soul harvest. Then after we cycled out of that briefly, it was made aware to me again that we were going to have another really big one just before the end of the year. So particularly in the month of December. And I've personally kind of witnessed this. You can go and get scientific accounts and people who are in, work for the economy and economists and all the people who crunch the numbers. And they'll tell you that the death rate is so high. It's the highest it's ever been. It may not particularly be being represented truthfully, but that there are a lot of people expiring rapidly, above average. So we're just now coming out of this particular soul harvest. But what's going to happen is once we get into 2023, it's going to go maybe, I would say, around the middle of January. We're going to start going back into a major soul harvest. And it's going to be geared toward particularly very low vibrational souls. Because what's happening is there are particular energies that are resonating from particular celestial bodies that are coming in and collecting these souls and taking them to their destinations for learning, I don't want you to think anything terrible in it, because that's not what's happening. That's kind of, from the way I've been shown and know is it's not like what you see in the movies. I'm sure that it could be in places, but, we always tend to think the absolute worst. And, I just get reassured over and over, like, don't do that. Do not do that. But yeah, there are some particular comets or dwarf planets, planets out in the Kuiper Belt and the Kepler system that are playing a big role in this soul harvest. A lot of very dense, very low soul vibrational souls. Now, these are going to be more of the individuals who absolutely refuse to go with the light. Sorry, my incense is going crazy. I have to do incense or candles when I do videos, but yeah. So these souls are just against the whole idea of it. They didn't ask for it. They don't want the big change. They're not wanting to go with it. So they've made their choice. They've made a choice. So they stayed asleep, basically. They stayed veiled. They were comfortable with the frequency that they were in. And we're not going to get into the whole debate of were they right, were they wrong. It was a choice. It was a choice that was made. Now, from how I know it, is the choice was kind of made before 2020 in a higher realm, in a higher subconscious. You've already made a choice. So the choice was already made. So people going out with these soul harvests, their choice was already made a few years prior to their expiration. So we have, I'm going to have to put that instant out. It's terrible. We have another type of this soul harvest coming in the beginning of 2023, but that's not the big deal. The big deal of 2023 and why this kind of soul harvest is going to take place is there are 3 major frequencies that are going to wave back up. Now, they kind of sputtered on. They were kind of, I think, tested with, experimented with. And when I say this, I mean from the higher divine realms, from the heavenly realms, not scientists, not, and even if they are partaking, you have to understand this is going to happen regardless of if a scientist takes part or not. And everyone on the earth is taking part, whether you know it or not. So whether you want to see it as something synthetic or organic or, mankind manipulating or whatever, it's happening because God wants it to happen. It's already been decided. It's going to happen. Do people, places, and things try to manipulate? And yes, they do. But the more evolved you become, the more you work on your spiritual uplifting, being Christed, getting that soul, your consciousness to resonate here and higher instead of all down here in the karmic layers, you'll understand on your own. It's not going to be an outside source convincing you or whatever. It's going to be yourself. But if you can't get that literal, there's a soul fluid within your spine. If you can't get that to resonate up here and get familiar up here and do what it has to do in your brain, in your third eye chakra, in your crown chakra, in your literal brain, you're going to have a hard time with everything. You're going to be shunted and you're going to be kind of put, like I said, in the karmic layers. We're going to touch on karma more in the video because so many things are changing from here going on, and it's going to speed up even more just in a few days going into 2023 when this, which is a combination of 3 frequencies, come in. A lot of the denser energies who just, they're not getting it. They don't want to get it. They could care less, are going to get kind of soul shocked, where they're going to get hit with such high, powerful frequencies that their soul, that soul fluid, is not used to making that journey. It's used to getting stuck maybe in the sacral plexus or the root chakra. So when they come in, your soul is automatically going to know what to do. It's going to shoot up. It's going to be uplifted. And if you're not open to that, like I said, that's going to spell disaster. That's going to cause complications, ill side effects, and resulting in death. So, I'm sure a lot of you watching, you may have a person in mind. So however it is you handle your spiritual life, your spiritual body, you may want to start focusing now. Maybe it won't be as big of a shock to you, or, and I don't mean to sound callous or unsensitive or anything, because I'm very sensitive to this, and it's why I make these videos, and I try to help in the ways that I can. I just lost someone very close on the 12th, on 12/12. And, I knowing what I know, it was very sad, very sad. It saddened me very deeply. But there's so much information coming out now, people helping, people understanding what's going on, that, we need to share more. We need to share more. We need to not be fickle about this and just be open and honest and share. You know, people are no longer sounding strange or weird or conspiracy theorist. These things are happening. So it's time. Also, when the frequencies come in, there are obviously higher resonating souls that are aligned to pass as well. How it kind of works with whatever frequency that you're resonating in at the very moment of your expiration, up to 3 days after, there's a 3-day window there. That's why it is so important to pray for your loved ones or people in general, because there are still some kind of magical things that are happening in there for 2.5, 3 days after maybe a doctor or someone says, they're expired, they're deceased. If they're in the hospital, hooked on machines, in a coma, what have you. There's still wiggle room there to get some understanding out of that soul and some clarity as what they need to do. They need to get elevated. They need to get to those higher nexus points, chakras, energy centers, portals, what have you, to make their grand entrance or exit, however you want to see it. Because when you expire, in that moment, when the doors start to open, whatever frequency, whatever chakra you're aligned with is going to be the door that opens for you. And that's the portal that you're going to go through. And in most cases, again, the universe is so diverse. That's just like going from one room to the next in your house. Going from your living room to your dining room. Just stepping past that wall, stepping past that threshold. It's not going to be, like a shock, or you're getting zapped, or you're falling down a vortex or a tunnel. You're floating through space. You're just going to be there. You're going to be there. And no matter where that is, there's more than likely going to be a host or hostess or those who will greet you. And you will soon realize where it is you are. Okay, so the next big thing about 2023, that big energy is going to come in, and it's going to start pushing that big ascension, that big spiritual awakening. And no matter what level you're at a very molecular level, your DNA is just going to start firing off all of that junk DNA, all of that stuff that nobody really knows what to do with is going to start waking up. So you're going to start remembering all kinds of things, things that may not make sense to you, things that just feel so right, things that feel wrong. You're going to be remembering, and it's not going to stop. It's going to go even further. You're going to start to change, perhaps physically. You may be thirsty a lot. You may not want water or food. You may not need that much sleep. There's going to be a variety of different changes, maybe physical looks. Back in, I want to say around 2013, my eye color changed. And it started to change so much so that everyone around me started noticing it. I just saw an orb. And I used to have darker hazel, almost brownish eyes. And my eyes are like very bright green now. So definitely changed. Then like my nose changed. I shrank an inch. My feet shrank. Like all of these different just crazy changes. But I also began to heal at a spiritual level, emotional, subtle bodies, and my physical body. I started to heal from very ill afflictions, things that could cause death, and they just would be gone. And I like to think, nobody can get like 13 different wrong diagnoses of, at 13 different times, or, and it was probably more than that. So some pretty serious stuff. And I mean, I have x-rays and I have MRIs and I have documentation from the doctors where things with my thyroid, with my pancreas, with my brain, with my spine, and then all of them at different times. I would go back and they would always be scratching their head. I had a doctor ask me if I was an alien. I got really offended, but, and I didn't go back to her, but I was like, wow, she was stumped. She could not explain it. She said she would have to go back to school and learn more because she could not understand why my body did what it did. So some very miraculous things happened. And this started for me back around 2013 in a big way, a very big noticeable way. So what's happening in 2023 is, boom, another phase, another cycle of those types of energies blasting, radiating into the earth. So back around 2012 and earlier, they did come in. They were kind of playing with them, testing them out. And, they're more refined. The higher divine layers, the higher divine plane has kind of, figured it out and how they want to go with it. So it's being made known, just like it was made known to Noah, build an ark. It's been let known to many light workers around the world and other individuals that these energies are coming. They're on their way. And everything that's happening is so unique because it's incorporating things that have happened before, maybe many of times, but not in the order, not in the way, not in the fashion. It's very original. So when these come in, you're maybe going to recognize part, a lot of it maybe not, but a lot of things are going to change rapidly. Maybe even more Mandela effect type things, because things of the physical world are going to change. Because what's happening is these energies are meant to, little by little, in a very structured way, easing out all of the evil out of this earth, all of the negativity. It has been decided that this earth, which we have a total of like 7, there's like 7 earths, 7 earth style places for us, mankind. And this earth, it's already happened in the higher planes, is to be cleansed to like a 0 degree, 0 point of evil. It is to go. So of course, it's going to start with kind of the weakest evil, and it's going to go on and on and on. So, when we get down to, okay, there's not that much evil left, but it's the most powerful evil. Those are going to be the last to go from the earth because they're holding on. They don't want to give this place up. They don't want to, they just don't want it to happen. But it's going to happen. And, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to fight tooth and nail to the very end. So you'll know when it's non and void, you'll know. But we're not there yet. Not at all. So coming into 2023, all year, and it's going to intensify. And it's supposed to be 20 years. 20 years of this gradual, more and more intensifying cleansing of the earth frequency. So add that up. That's 20, it's going to gradually strengthen by the end of 2023. So really going strong in the beginning of 2024. And I really would say around the lamb line, which I call the shadow band of the eclipse that's going to happen over the United States, and really aligning with the pole shift and the Golden Orb Project, which is King Charles II's, what is it called? Carnation thing. Sorry, I don't know what that is. And aligning with the emergence of the second sun. So over that 20-year period, the higher the earth is going to vibrate in frequency, the more that second sun that's lives within the higher dimensions is going to start being visible. That's why a lot of people, not a lot, but some people are seeing a second sun, a glimpse of maybe like a smaller second sun. Not everyone is witnessing that. Not everyone, maybe in way of video, but they're not seeing it. Just a select amount of people around the world. So that's a lot of things that are going to be happening very quickly. Very quickly. It's going to kind of kick off as well, I think, a lot of open communication about Shambhala or Middle Earth or Inner Earth. There are portals in the Inner Earth that do lead directly to the cosmos, like the actual ether, the darkness, like floating around space. And that is what I call in a physical sense. But there is also portal in the way of going to other galaxies, other solar systems, planets, moons, wherever, and being more so traveling in like a spiritual highway or wormhole or what have you. It's you're going physically, but it's in like way of wormhole, and you're going directly to that place. So you're not experiencing light years of floating through ether and darkness and so on. So those exist within Inner Earth. They do at surface level where we are too, but they're so locked down, and they have been for a very long time. And it's locked down in way of using magnetic fields, gravity and things of that such, that it's so hard for any kind of person or being to come in that way. So it's very locked down. So the ones that are accessible are the ones deep within the earth. Perhaps that's why a lot of people wish to find Shambhala, but they don't understand that it's just not openly accessible to any person. So I guess that's a very brilliant safety feature, alarm system or what have you. So it's a very good thing. But there's going to be more and more discovery, or what I like to say, open discussion about truth, about what is truthfully known to be within the earth. There's a lot of location, accessible location in the United States and around the world, but I'm speaking of the U.S. because that's where I'm at. So look for, there's a lot around the New Madrid fault line. So right there where kind of all of these 5 states come together, right in that center point. There was a really bad tornado that blew through there 2021 during Christmas. That whole trajectory is going to perhaps pop up in the new future news going forward. Sometimes you got to look for the information. It's buried deep. You got to hunt for it. It's not going to be on mainstream news, mainstream media, but it's going to be there. That's a tactic they like to use and say, well, we told you, it was in the science journal buried in the internet somewhere that you didn't know existed or how to find. But here's proof of it. So it will be out there. Probably more so talked about on TikTok and things like that. But it's going to be a very eventful year, spiritualistically speaking. So your growth, your healing abilities in general, new things. Pay attention. Pay attention. With you, it's who knows? It's not going to be the same as it was for me. Maybe it will. Probably won't. So you have to be paying attention. You have to be open. You have to have common sense. You have to use your discernment and not just take things for granted and just check, I got to do this. So who cares? I'm not going to pay attention to it. Because doing that's going to close you off to it. And it's going to make it more complicated. Especially if you've already decided in a higher plane that you're going forward with the light, with the change. You're not wanting to be removed off of this earth plane. It's going to make it hard. It's going to give you physical side effects, emotional imbalance, and just imbalance kind of all around. All right, guys, so I'm already over a half an hour in on this video. I'm going to stop this video here, but there is going to be multiple parts. This is a very lengthy conversation that we need to have, but you got to be prepared for this. A lot of you, just hearing this, just being prepared is going to be the key. It's going to be the ticket that you need. We're going to get into things like that. Keyholes, the keys, keys to the vibrations, the 144 frequency, and the 144,000 that's talked about in the Bible. All kinds of very important things that we're on the, just getting started. It's just really starting to take off, and it's going to go from here. 2024 is going to be a very impactful year, and or 2024 and 2044. So 4444 is going to be a highly important day and time period around there. So, we're talking major galactical, universal signaling. So very big things are going to be finalized and kind of flipped and happening around that time period. So, all right. I thank you guys for stopping by this video. God bless each and every one of you. Many blessings to you and yours. And make sure you come back and get the rest of this talk, because there's so much more and you don't want to miss it. You need to know. All right. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.